Next curve.
Hi everyone. So I'm here over at the Wipro booth, and I'm joined by Thomas Mueller. I know this guy. Yeah, he's a good buddy of mine who forgot who I was because we had talked last, I think about 3 years ago, right?
Yes.
It was about 5G private networks and stuff. But he's the CTO at Wipro. Wonderful guy. Very, very knowledgeable, by the way, because I've had long, extended conversations with this gentleman. Immensely impressed by him, and so I did your introduction for you.
Leonard, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, glad you're stopping by and looking at our what we're showcasing here at CES, and we want to keep it really focused. While Wipro is a big ocean of things that we can do overall from an engineering standpoint as well from an IT services standpoint, we really wanted to keep it sharp here and show one innovation at this show that really we believe is fundamental, contributing to the automotive industry. And I came from the 5G background. I learned how products been disaggregated. It's the very same story, taking hardware and software that is neatly baked together in a black box and starting to separate the software from the hardware. And that helped the telecoms industry to achieve really the disaggregation and the promises of cost reduction and continuous upgradability that we see in the market. In the US, we're rolling out dish networks as we speak. We've been rolling out Geo in India. We've been rolling out Rakuten networks in Japan successfully. So the disaggregation is here to stay. It's nothing that's going to go away quickly. When I took the learnings from this industry and brought it to automotive, I found a very similar situation in cars. Everything is baked together, hardware, software. We call them ECUs, electronic control units. And there's literally 100 of them in each and every car.
And not more, right?
It could be more. It could be 150, close to 200 for complex cars. We're trying to rationalize this, but at a very slow pace. So the auto industry, every 3 to 5 years to develop a new electronic architecture. We call them EE architectures. That's going to cost a fortune. It's $1 billion for all of the big OEM brands to develop one generation, and it takes a long time. So now the question is, if you have so many distributed computers and you want to make a change to a few of them, it's complex and expensive to orchestrate.
Right.
The next thing is you want to develop a feature, and I have this example of a hot car child mitigation feature. Let's say a lot of, here in the US, every year 50 babies, toddlers are dying in cars left behind. To create a software feature that would prevent that should be an easy feat. Right. But in reality, it's complex because all of these things in a car are siloed, they're compartmentalized. So there's a department that looks after door locks, a system that looks after HVAC, a system that looks after interior camera monitoring. They're not working together easily.
Right.
And to create that feature that spans across this is very complex, lengthy, and as such, it takes a lot of money to do that. So our innovation approach is to really change fundamentally the architecture, to rationalize all of the compute in a car down to a handful of boxes. We call them HPCs, high performance computers. Ultimately, the software is, like in telecom, separated by virtualization from it. So the computers can be made based on different hardware from Qualcomm, NVIDIA, NXP, Renesas, and so forth, while the software itself runs on a few operating systems only, predominantly Linux and Android. These are the two key, let's say, workhorses that we have in the industry, BlackBerry QNX being another one from a safety standpoint. So we have to juggle with this, and the software that changes that we're doing is we're moving away from the model culture of one language only, which is C language for 40 years. All the software is written just in C. We're moving to open up for other coding techniques, modern languages that are better in security, better in coding performance, better in traceability, and so forth. And this is all coming together as a package which we call the fast development loop. So we're showcasing this here at our demonstrators, how safety critical software features like the speed display. It's a safety critical feature. If you're not aware of your speed of travel, you could be in trouble. If you don't see a warning light like your ESP is failing in a car, that gets you in trouble. While other things like Netflix entertainment or Prime Video is not relevant. We have to put these workloads together. We call them mixed criticality workloads. They need to sit on the same box, you can say, on the same compute environment. Some are more important than others. And how to solve this problem that the more important ones are surviving if anything goes wrong, that's the key challenge. And that's what we're addressing here. We're showcasing this to OEMs, to suppliers.
And what are you guys calling it?
We're calling it Wipro Cloud Car. Wipro Cloud Car is our umbrella name for software-defined vehicle. And on the Cloud Car, we're working with a huge ecosystem of partners. We have been enabling about 50 partners in the last 6 months to be partners of Cloud Car. altogether throughout the past year, maybe close to 80. And these partners are big guys like the cloud partners, the hyperscalers. These are industry players like Red Hat who give us operating systems for open source. But there's also a lot of niche partners, just to call a few out, Excel4, Mimic, CPROS that we work with that give us niche capabilities. And we as an engineering partner, we are tying this all together to a working system. We are showing this innovation to our customers. We just don't follow what they say. We show them the innovations, and actually, that's how we co-innovate with our automotive clientele.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach. Well, I think a lot of what you're talking about is a new architecture for fundamentally a new way of designing, architecting a car.
Ultimately,
right? The systems of a car.
The big challenge we're solving for OEMs is very simple. But there was this big, North American car maker who challenged us about 2 years ago and asked us a simple question: can you guys, Wipro, help us build a car that stays digitally relevant for at least 10 years?
Yeah.
So, in other words, and then there was a European car maker who asked us, can you guys help us build a car that gets better every day? And that's another way to put it. Right? That's another way to put the challenge. But it all boils down to a few capabilities. And then one of the key capabilities is a constant change of software. So there is no standstill. Your software is changing, evolving, growing continuously. So is the configurations associated with that software, the parameters, everything that makes that software work in the environment that you're in. So it's not a steady state. It's not like, you bake that software, you freeze. In there, freeze is not an option. It's like Netflix, Netflix or Microsoft Teams. They renew the software on a cloud multiple times a day. And that's the same here. It's new ways of working, and it's a big challenge for the industry altogether because these people have been in a set way of working for decades. And
change that
to move to new ways of working is kind of inherently they're fighting it. There's traditional ways. They're familiar with certain ways of doing things that are only particular to that industry, that silo. But breaking up these silos is a long journey. It requires top leadership. That's the other thing is it doesn't come top down. It's hard to evolve it bottom up.
Yeah, that's what they all say. They always say that it comes from the top down. But hey, spoken like a true CTO. See, I told you, this guy, he's the real deal. Thomas,
Leonard,
it's a pleasure. It's great, finally meeting you in person.
Absolutely, it's been a while to get here. Finally, we're all back on the ground here. It's been absence from CES for a painful 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
and we're all glad that this is a big show here. There's a lot of innovation that we can see around here, and we're glad to be here. And thanks for your partnership, and we look forward for a continuous exchange.
Definitely, and I had no idea he was this tall. He looked so much shorter on Zoom. There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Remember, Cloud Car by Wipro.
Appreciate
a new architecture for the car of the future.
Thank you.